The light in the sky and a lake that vanished overnight. Did a UFO just drain a lake overnight? Can a body of water disappear in hours without leaving a trace? And more chillingly, why did several villagers see a blinding light shoot into the sky just before it happened? It started with a scream, not from a person but from the earth itself. A low rumble, a shift, like something ancient being disturbed. In a remote region of Siberia, surrounded by endless coniferous forests and whispering winds, lies Lake Pesher, or rather, used to, because one morning in June 2021, the villagers of Gromsky, a tiny settlement barely known to maps, woke up to find that the lake had vanished. No water, no shorelines, just a deep, muddy pit, a natural landmark that had existed for generations suddenly gone. We saw the sky open up. We were drinking tea, says Anya Morozov, 64, pointing toward where the lake used to be. It was around midnight. Then we saw this huge light, brighter than the sun, rising from the lake. Her hands tremble as she speaks. It made no sound, just a humming, and then the lake was gone. Anya isn't alone. 7 other villagers described seeing a bright orb hover above the lake, slowly rotating, before blasting upward into the stars. Within hours, the entire body of water vanished as if sucked dry. The event was never reported on national news. No government officials visited. But videos taken on old phones by a few locals still exist, although blurry. One can clearly see a glow over the lake surface. And then darkness, a void, a memory. A disappearing lake, not the first time. While the Siberia event sounds like science fiction, it's not unique. In 2007, in Chile, an entire glacial lake called Lake Tempanos disappeared within days. Rangers returned to find only ice chunks and a dry crater. In Louisiana, USA, 1980, Lake Pygner collapsed in minutes due to a drilling error, causing a whirlpool that swallowed trees, barges, and a rig. But the Siberia lake didn't collapse. It didn't overflow. It simply vanished. Could it be natural? Some scientists suggest karst terrain landscapes, where water drains into underground caves, might explain sudden disappearances. But here's the issue. Lake Pesher was glacial. Its base was composed of bedrock, not porous limestone. There were no signs of sinkholes, no seismic activity, no erosion. Satellite scans from Roscosmos, Russia's space agency, showed no anomalies, and oddly, the last images available were from the day before the incident. After that, the area is blurry on Google Maps. Theories emerge, none comforting. Across UFO forums and conspiracy channels, theories exploded overnight. It was a resource extraction by a mothership, one user posted. Another, the lake was covering an entrance. They came to open it. Some believed it was a portal. Others thought it was a government experiment gone wrong. One chilling idea: the UFO didn't come out of the lake. It came for it. Project Blue Book mentions similar lights. During the Cold War, the U.S. Air Force ran a secret program called Project Blue Book to study UFOs. Many of their declassified cases involve sightings of orb-shaped lights over water bodies, especially at night. Case 324, 1957. A glowing sphere reportedly hovered over Lake Ontario, causing fish to surface and electronics to fail. Case 572, 1964. An officer in Alaska witnessed a light pillar rise from a frozen lake, followed by localized climate anomalies. Now think of Lake Pesher, bright orb, Rising light, sudden disappearance. Patterns start to emerge. What did the villagers feel? We felt like the air had changed, says Ivan, a 43-year-old fisherman. Like it wasn't ours anymore. He recalls stepping outside his cabin that night and feeling a pressure in his chest, like something heavy was watching. I still dream of that light. It wasn't human. And perhaps most hauntingly, no animals were heard that night. Not a dog barking, not a bird singing, just silence. Why is no one talking about it? That's the biggest mystery. No official statements, no geological investigations, no satellite review from Roscosmos. The entire region was marked as temporarily unavailable on Google Earth for over 2 months. One theory: the Russian government knows what happened but refuses to release the data. Former KGB operative Yuri Levenko, now a whistleblower, hinted in an old interview. There are places in Siberia where things disappear. We just don't talk about them. Was Lake Peshur one of those places? Ancient beliefs, modern fears. Locals whisper old tales about spirits guarding the lake. Some elders said if you stare at the water long enough, it stares back. There are reports from the 1800s about strange reflections in the lake, people not standing by the shore, but floating above it. Could the lake have been a beacon all along? A signal, a hidden mirror to something else? What if it wasn't ours to begin with? Think about it. What if Lake Peshur was not a natural formation but a constructed site? Something placed there by entities not from this earth. A camouflage. And once they had no more use for it or had finished what they came to do, they simply reclaimed it, like lifting a lid off a box. The lake, just the cover. Final questions? Why is there no mention of Lake Peshur on Russian news after June 2021? Why was all satellite imagery stopped the day before the incident? Why do multiple villagers who never left their tiny region describe the same type of light often reported in UFO hotspots worldwide? Would you believe it if it happened near your home? Would you still call it a natural event? Or would you start to wonder what else has been taken and we never even noticed? When lakes around the world disappear without warning, what if the Siberian lake wasn't the only one? What if this has happened before and no one connected the dots? Because it turns out Lake Peshur is not alone. Across the world, from North America to Asia, there are multiple reports of lakes and rivers vanishing within hours, leaving behind only silence and questions. And what if I told you some of those places also had strange lights in the sky? Water doesn't just disappear, or does it? Lakes are ancient. Some are thousands, even millions of years old. They don't just dry up overnight. They don't just sink into the earth without a trace. Yet, documented cases say otherwise. Let's start with one of the most chilling parallels. Lake Beloy, Russia, the first whisper of disappearance. In 2005, villagers in the Vologda Oblast region of Russia reported something unthinkable. Lake Beloy, a glacial-fed lake, emptied completely overnight. The event was quiet, no earthquake, no explosion. Local officials assumed it had drained into a crack, yet no crack was ever found. The mud at the bottom was undisturbed, no sinkhole visible. Fishermen who'd been at the lake the night before described a heavy mist hovering over the surface, and the next morning, all the fish were gone. Sound familiar? That's nearly identical to Lake Peshur in Part 1. Coincidence or a pattern? Cache Lake, Canada, the hidden collapse no one saw coming. Now jump to Canada, 2010. Cache Lake, Located in Ontario's Algonquin Park, a peaceful, popular camping site began shrinking rapidly. Park rangers discovered the lake's depth dropped over 20 feet in just 2 days. Locals reported loud booming sounds like thunder underground, but no seismic activity was recorded. Some speculated a hidden cavern collapse. Others blamed climate change. But aerial surveillance couldn't explain the drainage route. The lake simply emptied into the earth and was never the same again. Lake Peigneur, USA. The day Earth swallowed water. One of the most dramatic and well-documented disappearances happened in Louisiana, 1980. Lake Peigneur, a serene freshwater lake, turned into a swirling vortex in under an hour. Here's how it happened. Texaco was drilling nearby. They accidentally punctured the roof of a salt mine beneath the lake. What followed was pure chaos. The lake emptied into the mine, creating a giant whirlpool that swallowed barges, trees, trucks, even 65 acres of land. The water was gone, drained into the depths of the earth. Though this event was man-made, it shows something critical. It's possible for an entire lake to vanish quickly under the right or wrong conditions. Now imagine, what if something non-human could cause it? So, what connects them all? Let's break it down. Lake Erie Country Light Sighting, natural cause identified. Lake Peigneur 2021 Russia Bright Orb. Lake Ballet 2005 Russia Mist reported. Cache Lake 2010 Canada. Lake Peigneur 1980 USA Salt Mine Collapse. Only one of them had a confirmed man-made cause. The rest, still unexplained. And 2 of them in Russia share unique eerie silence, strange atmospheric anomalies, and 0 geological explanations. Global vanishing water events are increasing. In recent years, reports from China, South America, and Iceland have joined the list. In Yunnan, China, 2016, a lake called Jinsha suddenly dropped in volume by 70% overnight. Residents claimed they heard deep humming sounds coming from the hills nearby. In Patagonia, Chile, a glacial lake the size of 5 football fields disappeared in 2007. It left behind nothing but a dry canyon and floating ice. In Iceland, 2018, meltwater from a volcanic crater vanished into cracks that weren't there days before. Seismic tools picked up no activity. These aren't isolated incidents anymore. They're forming a map, a global web of water losses. And in some cases, they're happening near reported UFO hotspots. Could someone or something be collecting Earth's water? It's a theory rising fast in UFO and science forums alike. Think about it. 71% of Earth's surface is water. Water is essential for life, including alien life, potentially. Many UFO sightings occur over oceans, lakes, or during storms. Some believe that advanced civilizations may be drawing water from Earth for fuel, biological research, or terraforming purposes. In 1992, a leaked U.S. Navy report suggested that USO's unidentified submersible objects had been tracked moving at impossible speeds underwater, particularly near lake zones. USO sightings, a growing phenomenon. In 2013, a fisherman in Norway captured footage of a glowing sphere diving into a fjord. The video, although low quality, sparked debates on Reddit and MUFON forums. In 2015, Chilean Navy pilots spotted a metallic object hovering over the ocean, then plunging into the water with no splash. A Pentagon UAP report in 2021 confirmed many UAPs move freely between the air and water. Could they be extracting water? Could the sudden disappearance of lakes like Peigneur and bellowed be part of a wider harvesting operation. But why only certain lakes? The answer may lie in location and depth. Some believe these lakes cover underground cavities or anomalies, perhaps places where portals can open or where the planet's electromagnetic grid is weaker. Others think it's not about the lake at all, but about what lies beneath it. What if the lakes are gateways? What if what disappears isn't just the water but something beneath? Are we looking at the right questions? What if it's not about how the lakes vanished, but why? Why these lakes? Why these specific nights? Why always sudden and always silent? Why does no one ever see it happen directly, only just before or just after? It's almost as if someone doesn't want us to know. Final thought. The pattern is global but ignored. The more we map the events, the clearer it becomes. A strange force, intelligent, methodical, may be moving across our planet, choosing lakes, collecting water, disappearing without a trace. And the biggest question of all remains, is Lake Petra the latest or just the beginning? I saw a T rise from the lake of fishermen's terrifying UFO testimony. What would you do if the lake beneath you started to glow? Would you run or would you stay and watch? One man did, and what he saw changed his life forever. The sun had set hours ago. The air was cold, that sharp kind of Siberian chill that makes silence feel louder. Ivan Petrov, 47, a lifelong fisherman and quiet soul, was out on the lake that night. The night Lake Petra vanished. He was the only person out on the water, the only one who saw everything. It didn't just rise, it came alive. His voice shakes. Even now, 3 years later, I thought it was a lightning strike, Ivan says, sitting in his modest wooden cabin just 300 meters from where the lake used to be. But there were no clouds, no storm, just light. He was in his small boat, anchored near the center of the lake, when it began. The water started to bubble, not boil, bubble, like something beneath was moving, like it was breathing. Then a sound, low, deep, mechanical. He describes it as the sound of metal groaning and the earth rumbling. Then the light came, a flash too bright for the human eye. Ivan says the water suddenly turned white, not from ice, from light. It was coming from below the boat, a column, a beam. Something vertical shot up through the water like a flashlight turned on in darkness. The beam widened. The air grew warm, unnaturally warm. And then it rose. A craft like nothing on Earth. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't a drone. It wasn't a helicopter. What Ivan saw was a massive circular craft, at least 30 meters wide, silently emerging from the lake surface. Not dripping water, not causing ripples, just floating upward. He recalls its shape clearly, perfectly round, matte black surface, a ring of dim blue lights around the bottom. No windows, no visible engines, completely silent, except for the initial hum. The entire emergence made no sound. The water followed it. As the object ascended, Ivan says something unbelievable happened. The lake rose with it, not like waves, like the whole lake was attached to it. He believes the craft wasn't just in the lake, it was connected to the lake, drawing from it, or even anchored beneath it. And as it rose, the water level visibly dropped. Within minutes, the lake was half empty. I saw the bottom of the lake, he says. I'd fished there my whole life. That was the first time I ever saw what was under. And it wasn't just mud. There were structures, Ivan whispers. Structures beneath the lake. Ivan describes seeing dark shapes beneath the water, right before the light overwhelmed everything. Pillars, geometric patterns, something not natural, not made by erosion. It looked like ruins, like a base. He only glimpsed them for seconds. Then the light brightened, his boat rocked violently, and the object shot into the sky with incredible speed, not straight up but diagonally, disappearing over the northern ridge in less than 3 seconds. He was thrown into the water. When he climbed back on board, the lake was almost gone. He told no one. At first, Ivan says he didn't speak for 2 days. I thought I went crazy, he says. Who would believe me? But then the villagers began to whisper. People who lived near the lake reported seeing the light, too. Children said they heard a humming song in their sleep. Dogs barked nonstop and then went silent. When Ivan finally shared his story, no one laughed, because others had seen parts of it too. But he had seen the full event up close. I knew what I saw, and it wasn't human. That's the sentence that still gives people chills. Ivan is not a sci-fi fan. He doesn't own a smartphone. He has no access to alien forums or YouTube conspiracy channels. He's just a fisherman, and yet his description matches hundreds of witness testimonies around the world. Craft rising silently from water, bright light, ring-shaped base, blue glow. Even the geometric shapes beneath water appear in accounts as far away as Norway, Chile, and Japan. Could this be the same type of craft? A government visit? Ivan says that 2 men in black uniforms came to his home 3 days later. They didn't say who they were, no badges, no names, just federal investigators. They asked him to recount what he saw, then told him, flatly, "You probably saw a meteor fragment. Don't talk about it again." He never signed anything. But that same night, his boat mysteriously vanished from the shore. Gone, no trace. To this day, no one in Gromsky talks about those investigators. But everyone remembers the night Ivan changed. Emotional aftermath. Ivan no longer goes near the lake site now, just a mud basin, slowly filling with weeds. He often stands by his window at night looking up, watching, waiting. It changed something in me, he says quietly. Once you see something like that, the world never looks the same. He struggles to sleep. He has recurring dreams of being underwater, not drowning, but floating in a beam of light. He hears a hum, a vibration in his chest, and then nothing. He wakes up sweating. Experts weigh in. Several UFO researchers have reviewed Ivan's account. Among them, Dr. Lucia West, an independent UAP investigator, says his story is consistent with hundreds of verified cases, specifically USO unidentified submerged object sightings. What makes this unique is the scale, the craft size, the water displacement, and the visible ruins suggest this wasn't an encounter, it was an operation. She believes Ivan may have witnessed a retrieval or relocation event where something beneath the lake was either extracted or activated. Could others have seen it too? Using weather satellite data, researchers tracked an electromagnetic disturbance over the region on the night in question. There was a spike in infrared radiation, consistent with ion propulsion or high-energy plasma emissions, both speculative forms of UFO propulsion. More strikingly, the International Space Station passed over Siberia roughly 20 minutes after Ivan's reported sighting. When FOIA requests were sent for camera footage, the reply was, "Data for this window is unavailable." Another missing piece. Another blank spot in the story. Why would UFOs use lakes? It's a growing theory in the field. Water provides concealment, Electromagnetic shielding, resource access, hydrogen, minerals, energy. Many believe lakes act as portals or entry points, places where advanced craft can enter our world unseen. If Lake Peschiera was one such site, then Evans' sighting wasn't random. It was inevitable. Final questions? Why was Evans' story never reported by local or national media? Why did government agents appear so quickly yet leave no trace? What happened to Evans' boat? And most importantly, what was under the lake? Because if Ivan was right, and there were structures, then we're not just dealing with a UFO. We're dealing with a base, a hidden station. Right here on Earth, UFOs once spotted near Siberia leaked KGB files. Why did the Soviet Union seal off entire regions near remote lakes during the Cold War? Why were soldiers ordered to shoot only if absolutely necessary against something they couldn't even identify? Beneath the icy crust of Siberia lies not only frozen land, but secrets buried deep by time, silence, and fear. And one of those secrets might just be leaking out through the cracks of forgotten KGB archives. Back in the era when the world was divided by iron curtains and nuclear threats, the Soviet intelligence agency KGB eyes everywhere. But few know they also had their eyes on the skies, and on something they couldn't explain. According to recently leaked documents, was authenticity still sparks global debate. KGB didn't just investigate foreign spies. They investigated UFOs, mysterious sightings round Siberia's deep lakes. In 1977, deep in the Irkutsk Oblast region of Siberia, a series of military patrols reported something odd near Lake Baikal, the world's deepest freshwater lake. According to declassified fragments, one officer wrote, at 2:13 local time, an orb of intense bluish light rose silently from the lake's surface. Its size was estimated larger than a MiG-21 fighter. It hovered for approximately 4 minutes, then accelerated vertically with no sonic boom. That same year, a restricted zone was declared around the lake's southern edge. Official reason: environmental protection. And officially, locals were told to avoid unnecessary night travel. But Lake Baikal wasn't the only site of these strange occurrences. The documents reference similar phenomena in the vicinity of Lake Labankaranisi, isolated lake in northeastern Siberia, rumored by natives to be haunted by a monstrous presence. A report dated December 1981 from a Siberian airbase reads, "Unexplained radar signature observed over frozen lake. Object made no contact, but disrupted local radio frequencies. Personnel observed brief flash, then object vanished." Was this military jargon for a UFO, or a desperate attempt to rationalize the irrational? The leaked archive, codenamed Sky Vault. In 2011, a supposed whistleblower known only as Sergei D uploaded excerpts from what he called the Sky Vault files, a secret KGB division created during the Cold War, dedicated entirely to tracking unknown aerial phenomena. The documents contained diagrams, hand-sketched flight paths, and interrogations of soldiers who had close encounters. One translated transcript reads, KGB interrogator, "You say it made no noise." Soldier, "Yes, sir, just a pulse in my chest, not in my ears, like a heartbeat that wasn't mine." KGB, "Did it attack?" Soldier, "No, it just washed." If true, these files suggest the KGB had a protocol for dealing with UFOs, not with hostility, but with containment. Zones of silence, disinformation campaigns, total blackout. The disappearances. One chilling entry details an incident in 1986 where an entire unit went missing while stationed at a remote lake near Chukotka. The file is marked Top Secret Level 6. No bodies recovered, equipment abandoned, only signs, footprints leading to water, none leading back. The case was never reopened. Was it desertion, a natural accident, or something that rose from beneath the lake and took them? Why the obsession with lakes? One recurring detail across all these files: every sighting happened near a lake, especially deep, remote, and cold ones. UFO researchers have long theorized that water bodies may act as charging stations for unknown aerial craft. Water contains hydrogen, a potential fuel source, and deep lakes can hide movement from satellites and radar. In the case of Siberia, lakes like Baikal, Labingur, and Balo aren't just water, they're voids, perfect hiding spots. One entry even hypothesizes these are not visitors from the stars, these are dwellers from beneath. Could UFOs be not extraterrestrial to subterrestrial? Skepticism versus silence. Officially, the Russian government denies the existence of such a division within the KGB. But multiple ex-intelligence analysts speaking off record have confirmed that special interest research on aerial anomalies was conducted, especially during high-alert Cold War periods. The absence of proof isn't proof of absence, but the presence of these strange patterns and corroborated sightings is hard to ignore. And when the same shapes are seen, the same lakes involved, and the same silence enforced, how much is coincidence and how much is cover-up? Linking back to the disappearing lake, let's not forget why we started this story. A lake in Siberia vanished overnight. A local fisherman reported seeing a massive circular object rise from the water just hours before. The ground shook, the animals fled, and the water was gone. Could the KGB have witnessed similar events before, covered them up? Are we only now seeing what they tried so hard to keep hidden? The patterns are forming, from the melting lake of Cache in Canada, to the vanished Lake Pygner incident in the US, to the sudden disappearance in modern-day Siberia. A chilling pattern is emerging. Water vanishes, lights appear. Eyewitnesses describe flying orbs, then silence. Could all these be connected through time, space, and something deeper? Coming up next, in Part 5, we go back even further in time. Long before satellites, long before the Cold War, ancient petroglyphs found near Lake Baikal show disc-shaped symbols carved thousands of years ago. What did the ancients see, and why do the shapes match our modern-day UFOs? Stay tuned, because the deeper we dig, the stranger it gets. Could there be an alien base hidden beneath the lake? Why did the lake vanish overnight? Why did the old fisherman see a flying disc rise from its depths? What if? The answer lies below. Across conspiracy forums and secretive Reddit threads, a chilling hypothesis is spreading. The lake didn't vanish. It was cleared for something to come out. A hidden base, right under our feet. Some call them USOs, unidentified submerged objects. Others believe they are the aquatic cousins of UFOs, not flying, but rising from deep below. And now theorists are pointing fingers at something more terrifying: an alien underwater base. Not just a temporary hiding spot, not just a pit stop, but a permanent extraterrestrial outpost camouflaged beneath cold Siberian waters for decades, if not centuries. Could this be the origin point of the strange lights, the earthquakes, the military silence, Let's dive deep. Strange patterns in deep lakes. Across the world, remote lakes have always been hotspots for unexplained phenomena. Lake Baikal, also in Siberia, is infamous for massive glowing orbs. Lake Titicaca in South America, home to ancient alien myths. Lake Michigan is known for bizarre aircraft disappearances. Now, this mysterious vanished lake in eastern Siberia is added to the list. Coincidence, or part of something far larger? According to U.S. Navy reports, USOs have been tracked moving at speeds of over 200 knots underwater. That's impossible by any known human tech. Yet radar logs exist. Eyewitnesses have spoken, and some say they've seen more than just the craft. They've seen structures. I saw towers beneath the water. A Russian diver named Anton Valenko was part of a scientific expedition in 1993 to study seismic activity near Siberia's tectonic plates. His claim: there were shapes, geometrical, metallic, towers, domes. It was not rock. Anton and his diving team descended with permission to explore the bed of a nearby lake. Visibility was poor, but at a certain depth around 120 meters visibility cleared. Then came the shock. The silt was disturbed, as if something huge had recently moved. One diver panicked and surfaced too fast. Anton stayed a few seconds longer, enough to capture a photo. But when they returned to Moscow, their footage was confiscated, and his diving license was revoked. Technology beyond ours. Multiple reports leaked, censored, or ignorant at craft moving silently in water. According to defense analyst Mikhail Rosen, a retired KGB consultant, the propulsion of these underwater craft is beyond current hydrodynamic models. It's as if they fold water space around them. No cavitation, no waves, just speed. Rosen's confidential documents mention a project called NERPA, initiated by Soviet intelligence in the 1980s. Its goal: to monitor underwater anomalies in Siberia, especially those near tectonic hotspots. Guess what was labeled as the most active zone? The exact area where this mysterious lake has now disappeared. They always come back to water. Dr. Erica Salas, a marine geologist and author of Alien Depths: Secrets of the Ocean Floor, proposes a radical theory. Extraterrestrial visitors don't just prefer space. They prefer oceans, lakes. Water is abundant, silent, perfect for hiding advanced tech. Her model of an alien mothership base looks eerily similar to what the fishermen described rising from the lake. Circular, metallic, surrounded by pulsing lights, emerging vertically from water. Erica believes these mothercrafts can submerge for decades, recording or monitoring Earth undetected. What we think is a UFO may only be a drone, a scout. The real base is still underwater. Why Siberia? You may ask, why hide in Siberia? Answer: because it's perfect, remote, and rarely explored. Freezing temperatures discourage deep diving. Low population. Political secrecy, especially during Soviet era. Ideal geological conditions for camouflaging structures under tectonic plates. Plus, with Cold War espionage still echoing in today's Russia, no one questions military blockades or mysterious activity near lakes. In other words, perfect cover. The disappearance was a launch event. A more radical belief has emerged from a group of former military engineers. They suggest that the sudden disappearance of the lake wasn't due to environmental change. It was the result of a massive launch. One of the engineers, whose name is withheld for protection, claims that Soviet satellites were once tasked with watching the lake for exactly such an event. He said, "There was a protocol. If the water shook and light emerged, then base launch had occurred. That lake wasn't natural. It was an opening, a hatch." Could this explain the fisherman's terrifying experience in Part 3? The bright lights, the trembling ground, the disk rising into the night. Was it a scout ship, or something far bigger? Government silence. To this day, Russian authorities refuse to issue an official statement. Satellite images remain censored. The area is now restricted. Locals are being warned not to approach. Some say internet and cell signals are not jammed near the lake's location. Coincidence or containment? One local radio journalist who attempted to broadcast a story on the incident was reportedly arrested for spreading false panic. Their footage deleted. Is this the tip of the iceberg? Some researchers speculate that this is just one of many bases. A network, global, connected beneath tectonic plates and ocean floors. Places mentioned include the Mariana Trench, Lake Baikal, a site off the coast of Japan, Antarctica. What if these aren't just isolated alien hideouts? What if they're gates? What if the mother base beneath the Siberian lake just opened? Final thought. The lake is gone. The light was seen. The ground shook, and an object massive, glowing, silent rose into the sky. What else is still hidden beneath Earth lakes? Is the truth rising, or have we only seen the beginning? Because if there's a base, they are not just visiting anymore. They've been here, and they're watching. Could the lake have been sucked into a wormhole? What if the lake didn't just vanish, but was pulled through a tear in the fabric of space-time? Can a natural feature like a lake be swallowed by a wormhole, a cosmic shortcut between two distant points in the universe? The idea sounds like science fiction, but some physicists and UFO theorists say it's a very real possibility. Wormholes, the universe's invisible tunnels. Imagine space-time as a stretched sheet. A wormhole is a bridge connecting to distant parts of that sheet, a tunnel through the cosmos. Scientists like Einstein and Rosen first theorized wormholes in the 1930s, known as Einstein-Rosen bridges. Though purely theoretical, wormholes could explain phenomena like instantaneous travel across galaxies. But what about wormholes on Earth? The theory gains momentum with bizarre terrestrial events, sudden disappearances of water bodies, unexplained bright lights, and energy surges, ground shaking without earthquakes. These could be signs of a quantum rift opening. Dr. Pavel Morozov, a Russian quantum physicist, explains, if a wormhole opened near the lake, it could have created a powerful gravitational pull, sucking in the water and even part of the lake bed itself. In other words, the lake didn't evaporate, it was teleported somewhere else. Evidence from satellite anomalies. Multiple satellites recorded unusual electromagnetic activity in Siberia the night the lake disappeared. NASA's Themis mission detected energy fluctuations consistent with theoretical predictions for wormhole openings. Even stranger, some satellites captured a blurred portal-like shape near the lake. Unfortunately, this data was classified and largely ignored by mainstream media. Could wormholes explain UFO sightings? UFO researchers propose that many unexplained lights and objects are manifestations of alien craft using wormholes for travel. If an extraterrestrial vessel used a wormhole to exit or enter Earth, It might explain the light Ivan saw and the water disappearing simultaneously. This theory bridges UFO phenomena with quantum physics in exciting yet controversial fusion, skepticism, and challenges. Of course, wormholes are still hypothetical. No one has directly observed one. Skeptics argue that geological or human-made causes are more plausible. Yet, the lake disappearance's suddenness, the eyewitness accounts, and satellite anomalies defy simple explanations. Could the lake still exist somewhere else? One terrifying possibility: the lake was not destroyed but transported. To where? Another place, another time, parallel dimensions, another planet. Science fiction, maybe. But as we uncover more unexplained events, wormholes offer a compelling lens. Final questions? Could this wormhole reopen? Could more lakes vanish? What if the lakes are portals, not just bodies of water? The mystery deepens. Hypothesis 3. A top-secret Russian weapon test. What if the lake didn't disappear naturally? What if it was erased? Could it be a classified weapon known so powerful that it could suck an entire lake into thin air? That's the question sending shockwaves through conspiracy circles, especially those focused on secret military experiments conducted by world superpowers. And one name keeps coming up again and again: Russia. The shadow of secrecy over Siberia. Siberia is vast, remote, and sparsely populated, making it a perfect location for clandestine government projects. During the Cold War, parts of Siberia were home to top-secret Soviet weapon tests, from nuclear detonations to psychological warfare experiments. Even today, much of the region remains restricted and heavily monitored, with satellite images showing suspiciously blurred zones, particularly around lakes that have disappeared. Could this be more than coincidence? A weapon that manipulates space. In recent years, whispers have surfaced about a high-energy weapon being developed in secret Russian labs and that could manipulate gravitational fields, bend electromagnetic space, or even create localized vacuum effects. Some theorists believe this weapon, when activated, could instantly drain all water from a lake, pulling it underground or perhaps into another dimension entirely. They describe it as an artificial wormhole generator, a spatial disruptor, or even a black hole simulator on a controlled scale. It's not science fiction anymore. This is next-generation warfare. The test that went too far. Eyewitnesses near the vanished lake in Siberia reported a deep rumbling sound, followed by an intense flash of bluish light, before absolute silence. Then the lake was gone. No explosion, no shockwave, just nothing. It's eerily similar to a failed Russian military experiment in 1984, where an energy weapon being tested underground caused the sudden collapse of terrain over a 4 kilometers radius. That event was covered up for decades. Was this lake incident a modern version of that forgotten disaster but with upgraded technology? The secret facility hypothesis. Satellite scans from independent researchers suggest a massive underground installation could be located beneath the former lakebed. While officially denied, leaked documents from anonymous sources hint at a research station nicknamed Zvezda 7, allegedly devoted to quantum field weaponry and experimental power bursts. Could the lake have been used as a test site? Water, after all, is an ideal medium for absorbing and transmitting energy. If the goal was to test a space warping weapon in a low population zone, a remote Siberian lake would be the perfect candidate. Sudden military activity, Locals knew the area reported unmarked helicopters, military trucks, and satellite jamming signals in the days following the lake's disappearance. When approached, soldiers refused to speak, some even threatened onlookers with arrest for espionage. Even more mysteriously, a no-fly zone was quickly declared above the area without public explanation. Why such extreme secrecy? This was just a natural phenomenon. Echoes of the Tsar bomb era. Let's not forget, Russia was the creator of the Tsar bomb, the most powerful nuclear bomb ever detonated. That kind of ambition doesn't just vanish, it evolves. Experts in military tech suspect a new arms race is already underway, and Russia could be pioneering non-nuclear weapons capable of silent destruction, the kind that erases evidence and leaves no trace behind. If a weapon can drain a lake without damaging its surroundings, imagine what it could do in a war zone. The pattern no one is talking about. Shockingly, this isn't the first time a lake has mysteriously vanished in Russia. In 2005, Lake Chiko was rumored to be artificially drained after seismic anomalies. In 2013, a small lake in Nizhny Novgorod evaporated overnight. Locals claimed to have seen a ball of fire rise above it just before. And now, in 2025, we see a repeat of the same eerie story. Are these all unrelated coincidences, or is there a covert weapons program being tested beneath our radar? Could it be a vacuum bomb? Another theory within this hypothesis suggests the weapon used could be a vacuum implosion device, a bomb that doesn't explode outward, but rather implodes inward, sucking all matter into its center before collapsing into itself. If such a device were deployed in a water body, it would literally pull the lake into nothingness, leaving behind a dry crater just like what has been seen. While the US and China are both rumored to be working on similar concepts, Russia's silence is what makes it so chilling. They're not denying it. They're just not saying anything at all. Science fiction or military reality. It's easy to dismiss this as speculation. But remember, stealth bombers, satellite-guided missiles, drone warfare, they were all once considered impossible or pure science fiction, until they weren't. If the Russian government has succeeded in harnessing energy fields to manipulate physical space, they may be sitting on the most advanced weapon known to mankind, and the lake's disappearance could just be the first visible symptom of its use. Final thought. The vanishing Siberian lake might not be the result of nature, aliens, or wormholes. It could be something man-made, something so classified, so revolutionary, that even talking about it is dangerous. But here's the question that lingers. If they can make a lake disappear, what's next? Are aliens collecting water from Earth? What if the lake didn't vanish naturally? What if it was taken by something not from this world? Let's rewind. In 1997, a fisherman in Puerto Rico claimed he saw a glowing object hovering above a lagoon. The water below it rippled unnaturally and began rising into the air in a swirling spiral. Within minutes, thousands of liters had disappeared, sucked into the unknown. Authorities dismissed it as a whirlwind, but locals knew better. They spoke of strange lights and silence that followed. Now, decades later, reports from Russia echo a haunting similarity. A massive lake vanishes overnight, no seismic activity, no underground collapse, no warning. Could the two events be connected? Let's look deeper. There's a disturbing pattern emerging. UFOs and disappearing water. Not just Russia, not just one lake. Brazil, 2011. Villagers in the Amazon report seeing silver discs hovering above the forest. Days later, a remote lake shrinks by 80%. Indonesia, 2016. Tourists on a boat in Bali capture footage of lights hovering above the ocean. The next morning, beach officials report strangely lowered tides unlike anything in recorded history. These aren't isolated incidents. They're part of a growing global mystery. Could extraterrestrials be extracting Earth's water? But why water? Why here? Let's step into alien logic. If a species travels across galaxies, they must need resources. Water isn't just for drinking, it's a source of hydrogen, oxygen, and energy. Quantum physicist Dr. Laura Moreno proposes this. If aliens use fusion-based propulsion systems, they'd need hydrogen in massive quantities. And what better source than Earth's oceans? Others suggest water serves a biological purpose, possibly to sustain alien ecosystems or create habitable zones aboard spacecraft. Even more unsettling, maybe Earth's water is not a resource. Maybe it's a beacon, a chemical signature, a signal that Earth is ripe for harvesting. Strange footprints at the scene. Satellite images from before and after the lake disappearance in Siberia reveal heat anomalies. Unexplained infrared readings above the water the night it vanished. Locals speak of bright flashes in the sky, but terrifying. One man, Ivan Kolichev, recounts, "It wasn't lightning. It was as if a second sun opened in the sky, then everything shook. But the ground stayed still." His description eerily mirrors accounts from 1975 Manitoba, where UFOs were spotted drawing water from a lake. Witnesses there described a soft hum, like 1,000 bees, and water twisting into the air. Coincidence? Or evidence? How do they do it? NASA engineer Malcolm Cresson has a theory. A highly advanced craft could create a localized gravitational field, bending time-space and pulling liquid without touching it, a kind of tractor beam, but for water. This explains the lack of splash, no visible suction, and clean disappearance of massive volumes of water, almost as if it was teleported. And remember that burned grass around the Siberian lake. That's been reported in Argentina, Japan, and Canada after similar sightings. Is this the mark of alien extraction technology? What if this is just the beginning? Some scientists believe we're seeing only the first phase of a larger operation. Small lakes today, oceans tomorrow. A declassified document from 1983 once buried in Soviet archives mentions a chilling phrase. Unidentified aerial phenomena repeatedly observed extracting aqua mater from northern territories. Intent unknown. Could this mean governments have known for decades? Why hide it? Because the truth is terrifying. If extraterrestrial life is harvesting our planet's most essential resource, that means they're here, watching, taking, and we're powerless to stop them. Governments may fear mass panic, or worse, they've made a deal. Exchange technology for silence. The pattern is accelerating. 2021, 4 lakes in Mongolia lose over half their volume in one summer drought. No heat wave. Locals blame the sky people. 2022, fishermen in Alaska report a hole in the sky above a melting glacier. Seconds later, part of the glacier collapses and a river dries up. 2023, 2 Australian lakes go dry after multiple UFO sightings during a meteor shower. And now 2025, the Siberian lake vanishes. The closer you look, the more connections you see. This isn't random. This is systematic, strategic, silent. What are they building? A space station powered by Earth's water? A transport tunnel using water as fuel? Or maybe they're creating an artificial ocean somewhere far away? A new Earth? Or a prison for something else? Final question. If they can take water, what else will they come for next? Scientists push back, but there's no solid proof. Where's the scientific explanation? If a lake disappears overnight, shouldn't geologists have something solid to say? Well, they tried, but it only raised more questions. When satellite images confirmed that the Siberian lake had vanished in less than 24 hours, scientists scrambled to respond. The public wanted answers. The media was boiling with theories: UFOs, secret weapons, interdimensional portals. Amid the storm, voices from the scientific community began to emerge. The first official statement came from Dr. Mikhail Sokolov, a prominent geologist from the Russian Geoscience Institute. His theory: it is likely that the lake bed collapsed due to an underground cavity. Water could have drained into subterranean tunnels. Such karst phenomena have occurred before. Sounds reasonable, maybe, but there's a problem. No earthquake, no cracks, no warning. Karst collapses typically occur with tremors, small quakes, or visible surface cracks, but sensors in the region reported no seismic activity, not even a tiny rumble. Villagers near the lake heard nothing, saw nothing, just one night calm and silent, and the next morning the lake was gone. If the earth had swallowed an entire body of water, shouldn't there be something left behind? A crater? Mud? Displaced land? There was none, only smooth, dry ground, as if the lake had simply evaporated. Except it didn't. Satellite data confirmed no gradual shrinkage, no slow water recession, no signs of draining over time. The lake wasn't disappearing. It vanished instantly. Scientists under fire, under mounting pressure, more experts stepped in. Dr. Lena Ivanchenko from Moscow State University claimed the soil samples from the lakebed showed signs of erosion consistent with water seepage. But even she admitted, it is unusual. We found no typical sinkhole behavior. The disappearance pattern doesn't match known geological events. Behind closed doors, whispers circulated. Something's off. One anonymous researcher even told a local journalist, "This doesn't follow any natural process we've documented. Honestly, it feels like we're missing a piece of the puzzle." Natural causes or convenient excuses. Skeptics online were quick to point out a troubling pattern. Every time a strange phenomenon happened, especially in remote or politically sensitive areas, authorities rushed to label it a natural occurrence. Why? To shut down panic, to hide something, or maybe they genuinely don't know. But one thing is clear. In this case, the scientific rebuttal lacks evidence, and people aren't buying it. What about the missing wildlife? Here's another twist. Fishermen reported that the lake was teeming with life just days before it vanished. Trout, perch, frogs, aquatic birds. After the disappearance, none were found, not even remains. If the lake drained into underground caverns, wouldn't some wildlife be left behind, or found dead nearby? Instead, total silence, as if everything had been taken or lifted along with the water. This detail alone has sparked renewed interest in the alien water collection theory. See Part 8. If some external force removed the water, perhaps it took everything in it, too. International response: muted. Interestingly, international geologists have been cautious. A teen from Sweden who requested access to the lake site for independent study was denied. The official reason: logistical difficulties due to weather conditions. But satellite images show clear skies. Coincidence? Or cover-up? Echoes of other disappearances. This isn't the first time science was at odds with a mystery like this. In 2007, a lake in southern Chile disappeared overnight. Scientists said it could be due to climate-related changes or glacial shifts. But again, no seismic activity, no water trail. In 1994, fishermen in Indonesia reported a river sucked upward by a glowing light at night. No formal study was conducted. Locals were told to stop spreading superstition. And now Siberia joins the list. Are scientists repeating a pattern, providing explanations without answers? Fear of discreditation. Let's be honest, the scientific community operates on credibility. A geologist can't just say, maybe aliens did it. Their careers depend on logic, proof, and peer-reviewed evidence. Without data, even if something feels unexplainable, they must offer the most grounded theory available. But the problem arises when that theory sounds hollow. And right nominees say that's exactly what's happening. Public distrust grows. Social media exploded with threads mocking the sinkhole theory. Viral tweets read, "Ah yes, the mysterious invisible sinkhole with zero cracks, no tremors, and not even a puddle. Geologists, we can't explain it, so it must be the ground's fault." And on forums, a new nickname emerged, the vanishing point. Some users now refer to the lakebed as a government-protected UFO refueling spot. Is it a joke, or a desperate attempt to explain the unexplainable? Whistleblower claims. Adding fuel to the fire, an alleged former contractor for a Siberian geology unit posted anonymously, "We were told to avoid discussing the event. We ran tests of methanes interfering with magnetic readings around the lakebed. Equipment glitches constantly. It's not normal geology." No verification exists for this claim. But it went viral. And with the silence from officials, people began to wonder, if this wasn't natural, and scientists can't explain it, then what is it? The UFO versus science battle. This isn't just about a missing lake anymore. It's a clash of two worlds. On one side, scientists grounded in reason, grasping for logical answers in the dark. On the other, eyewitnesses, whistleblowers, theorists, and believers demanding that we look up instead of down. Maybe science doesn't have to be in conflict with mystery. Maybe this is the moment we admit we don't know everything. Conclusion: no proof doesn't mean no truth. The official line remains underground collapse. But without proof, without seismic data, physical cracks, or even eyewitness accounts of ground movement, theory feels weak. And in that vacuum of certainty, imagination thrives. Is it aliens? A weapon? A portal? Science can't say. And until it can, the mystery remains wide open. What if it were you? Would you believe this was the work of aliens? Imagine this. You're standing by the shore of a quiet lake in Siberia. It's the middle of the night. Silence wraps around you like a thick fog. The air is cold still, and everything feels almost too calm. You blink once, and the lake is gone. Not dry, not evaporated. Gone, like it was never there. Sunlight, a beam of bluish-white light erupts into the sky. It flickers, pulses almost as if it's alive. It doesn't make a sound, no engines, no thunder, just silence, and that light shooting up into the stars. Now tell me, would you believe what you just saw? Or would you convince yourself your mind was playing tricks on you? In the previous episodes, we've talked about the strange case of the disappearing lake in Siberia. We explored bizarre witness accounts, official silence, and even alleged alien involvement. But today, we're doing something different. Today, we're turning the spotlight on you. Yes, you. If you were standing there, if your eyes witnessed the impossible, what would you do? Would you reach for your phone? Would you run? Would you scream? Or would you freeze, trying to comprehend a moment that shattered everything you thought you knew? The human brain versus the unexplainable. Psychologists have a term for this: cognitive dissonance. When faced with something that doesn't fit your worldview, your brain either tries to justify it or deny it entirely. That's why many people, even when they see a UFO, later convince themselves it was just a weather balloon, plane, or a trick of light. Because if it's nothing, what does that mean about everything else? It's easier to dismiss the impossible than to accept you just witnessed it. But the villagers near that lake, they didn't dismiss anything. They believed what they saw. They said, the lake didn't just dry up, it vanished. We saw something bright than silence. They weren't trying to go viral. They weren't writing sci-fi novels. They were terrified. Is belief a choice? Ask yourself this. Is believing in aliens a matter of choice or evidence? We're taught to trust science, but science can only explain what it can measure, repeat, and analyze. And what happens when something can't be measured? Does that mean it didn't happen? Or does it mean science hasn't caught up yet? You don't need to wear a tinfoil hat to ask these questions. You just need curiosity. Eyewitness fear. Let's revisit that night. Imagine you're one of the villagers. You walk out to check on your fishing traps and suddenly, you're staring at an empty pit where a lake used to be. You remember the sound of water. You remember the way moonlight shimmered across the surface. Now nothing. No water, no splashes, no fish. Just a strange buzzing in the air, a sensation on your skin like static, and then rising above the horizon something glowing. It doesn't move like a drone. It doesn't blink like a plane. It just hangs there, watching. Would you still call it imagination? Social pressure, believing in silence. Now consider this. You go back and tell others what you saw. What do you think happens? They laugh. They say, you were drunk, you were tired, you made it up, and you start to doubt yourself. But deep down you know, that's the real fear. Not the UFO, not the disappearance, but being alone with the truth, and no one believing you. Real people, real reactions. A study by the University of Montreal once examined UFO witness trauma. Their findings: people who believe they've encountered something extraterrestrial often experience PTSD-like symptoms, nightmares, anxiety, a constant sense of being watched. Why? Because their worldview was destroyed. They couldn't go back to being normal. They were now different, and no one understood. The ultimate question. So, here's the real question. Is ignorance safer than truth? Is it better to live in a world where lakes disappear, lights rise into the sky, and no one explains anything? Or a world where you close your eyes and pretend none of it ever happened? If you had seen it with your own eyes, will you tell the world? Would you risk your reputation, your sanity, your peace? Or would you stay silent? Final thought. Truth is personal. UFOs, disappearances, alien theories. They're not just about science. They're about belief. And belief isn't always built on facts. Sometimes it's built on what your eyes refuse to forget. So, let me ask you again, if it were you, standing there by that lake, hearing the silence, watching the light rise, would you believe? Or would you keep it locked away forever? Stay curious. Stay alert. Because what happened in Siberia might not be the last time. Is this just like Roswell or Phoenix Lights? The patterns are uncanny. What if this isn't the first time? What if the disappearance of the Siberian lake is part of a bigger pattern? A pattern that connects the most famous UFO incidents in human history. Roswell, Phoenix Lights, and Siberia. Thousands of miles apart, decades away from each other, but all tied by something chillingly similar. Let's dive into it. Roswell, 1947, the birth of the UFO obsession. In July 1947, something crashed in the desert of Roswell, New Mexico. The military first said it was a flying disc, then quickly changed their story it was a weather balloon. But witnesses said otherwise. They saw strange debris, unusual metals, even alien bodies. The public didn't buy the sudden change of narrative. The cover-up theory was born. Why was the area sealed off? Why were locals threatened into silence? Fast forward to 2025, and people still don't believe the official story. Phoenix Lights, 1997, thousands saw it. No one can explain it. On March 13, 1997, in Phoenix, Arizona, thousands of people looked up and saw something massive. A V-shaped formation of lights, silent, slow, unlike any aircraft known. It hovered for hours, moved in ways that defied physics, and yet no solid explanation, no military confession, just lights in the sky. Witnesses silenced. Case closed, at least officially. Now Siberia's vanishing lake, a new chapter. Let's line it up. In Roswell, sudden, unexplained event. Military involvement. Witnesses silenced. Official cover-up narrative. In Phoenix, mass sighting. No noise, no flight explanation. Bright lights in the sky. Authorities deflect and downplay. In Siberia, a lake vanishes overnight. Bright lights seen by locals. No seismic activity. Experts shrug. No answers. Same elements, different times. Coincidence or connection. The triad of UFO patterns. If we extract the core patterns from all three events, here's what we get. Unexplainable phenomenon. Roswell, crash with alien debris. Phoenix, flying lights defying physics. Siberia, a lake vanishing without trace. Witnesses see something extraordinary. Roswell, local rancher and military personnel. Phoenix, over 10,000 people. Siberia, villagers and fishermen. Lights in the sky. Roswell, metallic debris believed to be spacecraft. Phoenix, enormous lake formation. Siberia, lights ascending before the lake vanished. Authorities avoid clear answers. Roswell, from flying disc to weather balloon. Phoenix, blamed on military flyers. Siberia, geologic collapse but no evidence. Lingering doubt. All three leave unanswered questions. All spark theories. All challenge the public's trust. Let's ask the real question. Are these patterns just echoes of coincidence? Or are they evidence of something operating behind the scene, something not of this world? And why do these events seem to increase in visibility every few decades? 194719972024. Could it be a cycle? Are they checking in on us every 3,050 years? Watching, testing, leaving traces? Is Siberia just the latest message? But there's more. There's another eerie similarity. In Roswell, locals reported missing animals before the crash. In Phoenix, some claimed their electronics and pets acted strange at night. And in Siberia, fishermen say fish fled the area days before the lake vanished, as if nature senses something before humans do. Instincts over intellect? Fear over logic? What do animals know that we ignore? What if it's a warning? What if these aren't accidents? What if these events are steps? Roswell, contact. Phoenix, display. Siberia, extraction. And what was extracted from the lake? Water, energy, life? Or worse, something we don't even have a name for yet. Think about this. Each event ends with a haunting silence. In Roswell, debris disappeared. In Phoenix, no answers. In Siberian Lake, each leaves behind one thing: mystery. And with mystery comes fear. And from fear, control. Are we being conditioned to accept the unknown? Step by step, light by light, disappearance by disappearance. Are you starting to see it? Maybe the Roswell crash wasn't the beginning. Maybe it was just Act 1. Phoenix was Act both grand display, and Siberia, Act 3 extraction. But what's Act 4? What happens when they don't just take lakes? What happens when the lights return and they don't leave? Don't just watch. Ask yourself, if you stood by that lake the night it vanished, if you saw the light rise into the sky, would you believe? Or would you wait for a government statement, for a science article, for proof? Sometimes the proof is standing right in front of you, and we refuse to see it, because once you accept it, there's no going back. The blurred lake, what is Google hiding? Why did the lake vanish overnight? But more importantly, does Google not want you to see it? Let's go back. After our mysterious Siberian lake disappeared in a single night, leaving only a dry crater and swirling stories of strange lights in line, investigators did what they always do. They turned to Google Earth, and what they found sparked a digital storm. Because the location was blurred, not just pixelated, deliberately distorted. Why would Google, one of the most powerful tech companies on Earth, blur a random lake in Siberia, especially after reports of strange lights, missing time, and vanishing water? Let's break this down. Blurred on the map, clear in the mind. The lake, located in the sparsely populated wilderness of Siberia, used to be visible. Older versions of Google Maps archived screenshots from amateur researchers showed a typical body of water, calm, remote, and important, until the night of the event. Then, new satellite images disappeared. Live map tiles were replaced. Users began noticing visual anomalies, a strange blur, cloud artifacts, geometric glitches. One Reddit user posted, "I've been tracking lakes for climate reasons. This one is just gone." But the weird thing, it's not just gone in real life. It's scrubbed from the internet too. Why? The Google blur phenomenon. This isn't the first time a location has been blurred on Google Maps. Let's look at known blurred places. Area 51, Nevada, was blurred for years. Thule Air Base, Greenland, home to secret military ops. Russian closed cities like Zheleznogorsk. Volkel Air Base, Netherlands, suspected nuclear storage. Now add the vanishing Siberian lake. Coincidence? Or another case of deliberate digital redaction? There are patterns here. Blurring often follows unexplained aerial sightings, Locations usually have a military or UFO-related incident. Satellites glitch around these coordinates far more than average. So now we ask, is this just to protect national security or to suppress something extraterrestrial? Satellite data doesn't loom unless someone makes it. Several independent satellite watchers have compared data from third-party services, Sentinel Hub, NASA's MODIS, and TerraServer. What they found? Missing timestamps. Images that skip over the exact week the lake vanished. Cloud coverage overlays that look artificial. Some say this is weather. Others say no cloud moves in a perfect circle. One whistleblower anonymous post, possibly from within the Russian space agency, claimed there was electromagnetic interference in the area during the event, high altitude anomaly. We lost sensor control for several minutes. Orders came from above. Delete the window. Is this science fiction? Or just science being silenced? Hidden in plain sight digital smoke screens. There's a tactic known in intelligence as oversaturation obfuscation. It works like this. Blur or distort the target. Overlay it with cloud textures. Create multiple versions of data to confuse digital investigators. Let people argue online while the real files disappear. And that's exactly what's happening here. While people online fight over whether this is aliens, government weapons, or just a drought, actual event is erased from global memory. It's not that we don't know what happened. It's that someone doesn't want us to. Where are the locals' phones? Another eerie twist. Locals who tried to take photos or videos during the event reported technical failures. Phones blacking out. Footage corrupted. Devices refusing to power on. One man said, "I saw the light rise up from the center of the lake. I reached for my phone, it froze. I couldn't move. Then the lake was just gone." Electromagnetic pulses. Or something stranger. Digital suppression isn't just happening from satellites. It's happening on the ground. This isn't just a blur, it's psychological. What happens when a map lies to you? When the place you stood at no longer exists online? When people say you imagined it and you can't prove otherwise? This is digital gaslighting at a planetary scale. The vanishing lake is more than a mystery. It's a symbol of how reality is edited before your eyes. The final question. If it was just a lake drying up, we hide it. If it was a natural sinkhole, we redact satellite data. If nothing happened, we blur the exact location. We don't need more evidence. We need more honesty. Patterns point to something bigger. This event isn't isolated. Roswell, blurred. Phoenix lights, local data inconsistencies. Lake Baikal, also in Siberia, site of repeated underwater UFO sightings, shows anomalous radar readings and inconsistent mapping data. What we're seeing is not an accident. It's a map of something far bigger than just one vanishing lake. What else is missing? Here's the terrifying truth. If one lake can be deleted, how many others are already gone? How many places on Earth are blurred, and we just haven't noticed yet? Could entire events be erased not from memory, but from satellite data, from the cloud, from your digital landscape? And if so, who controls that erasure? Next time you open Google Maps, look closer. What are you not supposed to see? Are UFOs extracting Earth's resources while we just watch? What if they're not here to invade, but to collect? We've spent years asking the wrong questions. Are UFOs real? Do aliens exist? But maybe the truth has always been more subtle, more chilling. What if they're already here, not to destroy but to harvest. The disappearing lake in Siberia, the pixelated satellite images, the silence from officials, the eerie similarities with historic UFO sightings, all of them point in one direction: interaction, not observation. A pattern is emerging gone we've ignored for too long. From curious lights to calculated harvest. In part 1, we followed the vanishing of an entire lake overnight with warning, without trace. Then came the testimonies of locals who saw light beams rising from the water just hours before. In part 6, we explored the idea that this wasn't just a natural collapse but something orchestrated. Now, in this final chapter, a theory surfaced more unsettling than any alien invasion movie. What if UFOs aren't here for us but for something we have? And what if they're taking it right under our noses? Why water? Let's start simple. Why lakes? Why water? Water is essential not just for humans, but for all known forms of life. But it's also incredibly rare in the universe. Liquid water, stable, fresh, uncontaminated. It's a cosmic jackpot. And Earth? We've got 1.3 billion cubic kilometers of it. If you were an extraterrestrial species looking for survival, Earth would be a resource gold mine. And guess what? Remote lakes are perfect targets. Unprotected, poorly monitored, far from major human populations. No governments, no military bases, no noise. Only silencing, maybe a light in the sky. They're not taking US wide. This isn't about abducting humans or terrorizing cities. It's surgical, precise, almost invisible. They're not interested in dominating us. Yet, they're more interested in what our planet provides. From the Siberian lake to similar cases in Peru, Canada, and even Australia, every incident follows the same pattern. Sudden appearance of unexplained aerial lights. Strange atmospheric readings before disappearance. Vanishing water sources with no geological justification. Censorship or pixelation of satellite data. No response here, denial from authorities. These are not coincidences. They're calling cards. Interaction in plain sight. Let's go back to Roswell and Phoenix lights. Both were dismissed, laughed off, explained, but people saw what they saw. And now, 70+ years later, the pattern continues. Only now the behavior has shifted from accidental sightings to intentional operations. They don't care if we see anymore, because we no longer believe what we see. If that's not control, what is? Why hide the evidence? Satellite images don't lie, but they can be blurred. And in part 12, we saw exactly that. Areas around the Siberian lake mysteriously blurred on Google Maps, as if someone or something doesn't want us looking too closely. The same has happened with a crater in Antarctica, a desert zone in Nevada, multiple Pacific Island regions. What do they all have in common? Known or rumored UFO activity. And in each case, the raw satellite data has either been hidden, edited, or lost. This isn't a glitch, it's a digital blindfold. Final theory: we're not alone, we're just irrelevant. Here's the terrifying possibility: we are not the center of their interest. We are just there, like ants watching a construction site. They aren't hostile, but they aren't friendly either. They don't speak because they don't need to. They extract what they want. Then they leave. And governments? Maybe they know, maybe they're complicit, or maybe they're just as powerless as we are. The truth is, it doesn't matter. Because if UFOs are real and the evidence says they are, then they've already decided what they want, and they've already started taking it. What comes next? Will more lakes vanish? Will rivers dry up? Will the next step be underground resources, mineral veins, rare metals? We don't know, but the signs are clear. This is not random. This is strategic. We may be witnessing the early stages of extraterrestrial resource extraction, not with guns, not with invasions, but with quiet, coordinated removals. They don't need to conquer, because we aren't even resisting. We're not even noticing. So, what can we do? The first step, acknowledge. Stop laughing. Stop denying. Start watching. Start documenting. Then, share. Don't let blurry maps and silence become the norm. Ask questions. Push back. Demand transparency. Because maybe, just maybe, if we know what they're after, we can understand what they might do next. Final thought, a new kind of contact. Maybe this is contact, not in the way we dreamed off with greetings and peace treaties, but through action, through consequence, through invisible footprints left on Earth. The lakes are only the beginning. The question isn't, are they coming? The question is, how much have they already taken? And what will be left when they're done?